Hi, I'm sick. Anyway, welcome back to another video, or as Tanamoto would say, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Anyway, as I was saying, story time. Also, if I don't film like next week, it's because I'm totally not in the state, so that would be why. Okay, next video. I probably will film at some point, but I don't know how good my internet connection will be or where I'll be, and I'll also be very busy, so I don't know. But anyway, time for this story time. And this story time is actually going to take me back to my childhood. So this is going to be a story about when I was about 4 years old, I want to say. So to set this up, my parents both worked at the church that we were currently going to, that my dad still goes to. They both worked in the office at this church when I was about 4. I know I was 4 because if I had been 5, I would have been in kindergarten, and it was fall, so I know I was 4 because my mom homeschooled me in kindergarten, and I know that she was not working anymore when she homeschooled me in kindergarten. So anyway, I must have been about 4 years old, and the way my church was set up, it had like the sanctuary was like upstairs, and then like the main floor had some offices and stuff. There was like a meeting room, and then it had some offices and stuff. And the offices were right across from a nursery room. So the nursery had a door you could like peek in, and in there were just a bunch of like things for young kids, babies. There was a little slide. There was some other toys and stuff on these shelves, and obviously they had a little changing area. They had a little like adjacent room. It was like a small room. There was a little changing area, and also a regular restroom in there, both like off parts of the nursery, but they had this like main like play area, and they had a little table, and in the closet there were like art supplies and stuff. So I was pretty young, but this was a Saturday. Both of my parents had to do something in the office. Both of them were working in the office. It was a Saturday, so nobody was really at church. Now, there was one other guy at the church who was working in the office as well, and he was the computer guy. So, again, most people were not there on a Saturday because we only had Sunday service at the time. And, again, I was about 4, and I was playing in the, like, little play area, the little nursery play area, directly across the hall from my parents, because there was like a door, and then there was this whole like office area across the hall. So I was playing in this little nursery area, and I would do that sometimes, and I knew right where my parents were. If I needed anything, I would go ask them. Nothing was a problem. So what happened was that this was, again, not a Saturday, so I guess they were going to like put these up for Sunday, but they didn't. So anyway, I went in. And when my parents first, like, dropped me off in the little nursery area, there was a picture. And it was, like, a painting or, like, a picture. They had a couple of them, different, I think they were, like, photographs of, like, animals. Just like, photographs of animals. Like, giant poster-sized photographs of animals. And they were framed. And one of them in particular, I remember, it was a, like, mother giraffe and a baby giraffe. And they were all, like, because it was, like, a nursery play area, they were all, like, mother and baby animals. Like, there was an elephant and a gorilla and like different ones. So anyway, this was the first time we'd ever seen these pictures. We walked in and we were like, those are cool pictures. But what ended up happening was that apparently the pictures were encased in glass, which I don't know about you, but it seems really dumb, because they're gonna have like infants and babies in there on Sundays. So my only guess was that they were planning to hang them up high where no one would be able to get to them. But still, what if there's an earthquake or something? I don't know. I mean, we don't have earthquakes where I live, but you never know. Something random could happen. Who knows? Anyway, so this was pretty bad. So we didn't know, my parents did not know that the pictures were encased in glass, and they weren't up on the wall yet. I guess someone was going to put them up or put them away somewhere before people were using the nursery the next day. That must be what the plan was. But that did not happen, and one of these pictures was, I think, leaned against a shelf. So when I talk about poster size, it's like a regular, pretty large poster size. Like some of these posters I have on my wall here is like the size of one of those, but it was framed and it was in glass, if not larger. And nowadays, those things aren't super heavy. Even if it is glass, I can just lift it. I think these are plastic. The ones I have are in plastic or nothing at all. But I have one over here that is in plastic, I believe. And it's just kind of like whatever. But I was about 4 years old. I was very small. So the painting was probably bigger than me. Or if not bigger than me, probably about as tall as me. It was actually photographed, but you get the point. I believe it was leaning against a shelf. And I don't actually remember what happened exactly because I was not, I don't have great memory from that age. I do remember things. I do remember this specifically. And I'm a bit foggy on parts of the story, which is kind of funny, and we'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, I was either trying to move it or trying to get something on the shelf. I don't actually remember what happened specifically, but I know this painting somehow fell on me, or like fell forward, and I'm not sure how this happened, but it ended up falling, and it ended up like falling into me, and I was like 4. So I caught it with my hands because it was this glass coming towards me, and I caught it with my hands because that's like self-defense, so you don't like damage your brain or whatever. That's just like a natural reaction. So I'm pretty sure it was pretty painful, and I don't actually remember like what it felt like, but I'm sure it was painful because I remember screaming like at the top of my lungs because I was 4, and the computer guy came in first, and he got me like out of the glass and then took the picture to get cleaned up. My parents came running in, and then I was like, I had no idea what happened. They had no idea what happened. They were freaking out, and then my mom was looking at my hand, and it was just bleeding, and it wouldn't stop bleeding, so she went down to the church kitchen. This was before they renovated the church kitchen in the basement. It was pretty cruddy little kitchen at the time. They did end up renovating it, but that's not the point of this video. So, she got a dish towel, and we drove to the emergency room because I would not stop bleeding, and they wanted to x-ray me to make sure that nothing was wrong, like that there wasn't any glass lodged in my skin or anything, so they wanted to do that. So we were driving, my dad was driving to the emergency room, my mom was in the back seat with me, and she had this towel wrapped around my hand. I just remember there was a lot of blood, I was bleeding, I was freaking out, because I was a kid, and it was really traumatic. So we drove to the hospital, and it was like probably like 10-15 minutes from away. It was not very far, just like the closest hospital. And I got out. I remember we went into the waiting area. We had to like check in to the emergency room, and this is probably the weirdest part of the story because I remember this so specifically well. All the other stuff that happened later was just kind of a blur to me, but this specific detail I remember so distinctly and well. So this would have been, I want to say like 2006 at the most. Yeah, probably 2006. I know that like flat screen TVs in homes, especially the larger ones, were not super commonplace yet. And I remember, and we did not have a flat screen TV for the longest time until last year or something. But anyway, that's not the point. The point of this video is this is where I keep all these TVs over here. But the point of this video, I guess that little one is kind of flat screen, but it's still bigger than the new ones they make. Anyway, so though, I mean, that was probably the kind of stuff you could find back then. Like the big wide ones were not very mainstream at homes. A lot of people have those now. And I do have a slightly larger one downstairs, but it's not that big. But anyway, but it's more modern, you know what I mean? So I remember I had to wait for a few minutes. I don't think I had to wait for very long, but I did have to wait for a few minutes to get taken back to the room for them like to x-ray me and stuff. And since I was a kid, I remember they took me into this like little like waiting room, like for kids, I guess, a little player waiting room, whatever. And I was sitting there with my parents, and the thing that I remember so distinctly was this room. It was like kind of small, kind of like not rectangular, but just kind of like a little room. And they had a big flat screen TV like up here, and they were playing the Pixar short For the Birds. If you've never watched it, it's basically just a bunch of birds on the wire, and they're all like talking to each other, or I don't actually remember if they talk or if it's silent. I actually don't remember, but or they like tip a wire. There's like too many of them, and then they like, yeah, it's a weird, it's a Pixar short, and I think it's probably silent, but I don't remember it. Anyway, I just distinctly remember that is what was playing. Distinctly, like they must have had a like Pixar Shorts compilation or something. They must have had like a DVD, and they were playing it, you know, in the room to like entertain kids or calm them down while they were waiting. So anyway, that is like the weirdest, most specific detail that I remember. So after that, I don't really remember a ton, but I know that I know that we went back to do x-rays and stuff, and I don't actually remember the x-rays very well at all. I don't remember a lot of what they did. I remember them looking at me and trying to figure stuff out. I remember freaking out and screaming, and my dad telling me, I think it was my dad, I can't remember if it was my mom or my dad, but I think it was my dad, telling me not to scream in the hospital, like, don't scream in the hospital. And, then I remember, I think it was my dad again, was, like, trying to, like, play, like, math games or number games with me, which is really funny, because I'm not really much of a math person now, but when I was a little kid, I would love, like, playing, like, number games and stuff. So I remember him doing that to try to calm me down, and then I just kind of remember we were just chilling there, and my grandmother lives in Virginia, like nowhere near me, but and this is my dad's mother, and I remember just randomly when they were like packing me up ready to go, and I'll get into that in a minute. I remember just randomly like, oh, it's Grandma's birthday, like not related to anything, but that just happened to be her birthday. So anyway, I do remember towards the end, I know they did all sorts of tests on me and whatever, had to make sure there wasn't anything in there, and I remember towards the end what they ended up doing, and I vaguely remember this, that they had to like use the procedure to like stitch me up, but they didn't use stitches, because a lot of people will get stitches, or they'll talk about getting stitches or whatever, but they didn't use stitches. They used this like glue stuff. I don't know what it was exactly, but to like stitch me up, and I mean, they used this like glue stuff to like put my skin back together. Like that sounds so freaking weird, but it like that's literally what they did, and because there wasn't anything bad, there weren't any infections or anything, there wasn't anything lodged in there, so as far as I know, and if it was, they got it out, so it wasn't a big deal. So I ended up being fine, but I was such a scared little kid, and what I remember, they like gave me a popsicle, and then my parents just like took me home, or they just like sent me home. I didn't spend the night or anything. It wasn't like a big deal, but they just like took me home. But of course it was a big deal because I was like 4, and I remember lying on the couch. I don't actually remember what I was watching this time, but I was watching something, like my parents put something on the TV at home, and I just had this like popsicle or whatever, and I just kept having, like, I was just like so sick, like I was like so miserable. But then what ended up happening was that I had to wear this like gauze stuff on my hand, like when I was like healing, and because it was like right here, it was like the worst part. Thankfully it was my left hand, but it was like the worst part right here, and they had to use this like gauze stuff, and I don't actually, and like they would have to apply it every night. My parents would have to like apply it like right here, and then I also had some like cuts, some more minor cuts. That was like the big one they had to like stitch up, but I also had some more minor cuts on my fingers, and I would just have band-aids and stuff. So like I walked around for like about a month and a half, just with like this gauze and like these band-aids on my hand when I was like 4. And I think it was kind of wrapped up weird too, like my thumb and my finger were just kind of like wrapped up. It's kind of weird. And the other really embarrassing thing, I did this till I was like 16. It's so embarrassing, but I would suck these 2 fingers on my right hand because like, you know how kids will suck their thumb. I would suck my fingers. I don't know why. I only did it when I was like 15 at like night when I was trying to fall asleep. That was the only time I did it. I don't anymore, but the point is, when I was like young, I would do it all the time. And I had like a security blanket and all that, so I was like a typical kid, you know. But that's really funny because I did that, and my I'm so glad that my right fingers weren't bound up, because I probably would have like tried. Although then again, maybe it would have made me break the habit early, which would have been nice, but I don't do it anymore, so we're good. Strange other fact about that, I did that for years and years to go to sleep. Like, I could not go to sleep without doing that. When I was younger, I used to not be able to sleep during the day at all, not nap at all, unless I was, like, really sick. Now I can just, like, sleep kind of whenever I want, unless I can't sleep. But, like, if I'm tired, I will sleep, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm really tired, it doesn't matter what time of day it is, so I will just sleep. Doesn't matter where I am, doesn't matter if I'm, like, on the floor at my co-op, I will sleep. Yeah, so, the point is that I will just sleep so much. But anyway, this was before I was, like, depressed and moody and a teenager and needed to sleep all the time. I could not sleep when I was a kid. I actually had really bad insomnia when I was a kid. I've had some insomnia when I've been older, but that's usually due to having a thrown-off sleep schedule or sleeping at other times. So I have had insomnia before, but, yeah, not too bad. So anyway, but, again, really random fact, which doesn't have anything to do with the story, but it's just when I sucked these 2 fingers, that I did that for years and years and years, and I never had any, like, tooth damage. Like, I never had to wear braces or anything. And other really random fact about me is that my teeth are really hard and brittle. I know soft teeth get cavities a lot. I do not get cavities at all. When I was a young kid, I did a lot of my baby teeth, but now I do not get cavities. But on the flip side, my teeth are really brittle, and you can see right here where it broke off, and I think there's another one on the bottom somewhere. I actually don't remember where it is, but I have a couple places where just little parts of my tooth has, like, chipped off, and I don't know why or what happened specifically, but it's just because my teeth are just really, really brittle. So, random fact about me. But anyway, guys, that's about it for this story. If you liked it, click like, subscribe to the channel. I'm 3 subscribers away from 100 subscribers, so that would be great if we could hit that, and I will see you all next time with another video. Bye!